Bonjour! Happy Canada Day and happy 4th of July to all my North American viewers. I'm here on my not day off because I'm up in Canada. We took the weekend off, obviously, which is why this got pushed back. So what happens usually is Canadians take either the Saturday off. If you normally have the Saturday off, you have the Monday off around Canada Day. And you get a long weekend. So July 1st is Canada Day. July 4th is obviously Independence Day. 4th of July in the United States. And we are coming at you live after my long weekend. It was fun. Got some sun. Went outside. Took the kids to go see their first ever movie, which was not as terrible and awful as one might think that could actually be. My daughter sat enraptured for 2 hours as we watched Cars 3, and my son talked at the top of his voice saying, "Car, Lightning McQueen, car, Lightning McQueen, apple juice, car, popcorn, apple juice," just over and over again. Just, really entertaining everyone in the theater and making their experience better for 2 hours. So yeah, it was really good. And we had a great time off. So I hope you guys are all doing well. For those of you in North America, I hope you had a great long weekend if you had a long weekend. And for those of you guys who are, of course, around the rest of the world, I hope you guys had a great whatever you did this past weekend. So it's a piece of ash. We're going to take questions from the mailbag. I'm going to talk with guys in the chat. We're on YouTube today, which means we're live with lots of folks hanging out and doing their YouTube business. And I'm going to work on some Arsenal slave cages for Dark Age. I've got them all primed and airbrushed. You can see here they're all just like base coated. And I've thrown down some weathering compound on them as well. And then we're going to finish them off with some highlights, and they're ready to rock and roll. I've just been getting them done to do my first of two separate, Witches Wonders on the cool Arsenal stuff for Dark Age. They've made some really cool acrylic tokens. They've also done these slave cages and the objective wagon for MTI 2017, and I've got that stuff to feature, so I'm going to show it off. But of course, as happens, I have to get it all ready first, and I don't want to feature stuff usually, if I can avoid it, that's sent to me ready, because I want to have some experience with the actual product before I do a Witches Wonder. So it takes some time. Sometimes I got these at Cool Mini Expo this year. Bill from Arsenal, shout out to Bill. He's awesome. He also provided the scrap bases for my project for the St. Isaac crew, which you guys saw, which were really cool, as well as the wagon. So the wagon's done. You saw it in the most recent Dark Age video I did. The slave cage is going to get done for the next one. There's also some cool custom inserts and bases and stuff too. And those will all be in the same Witches Wonders video. All the cool Dark Age-y stuff, which are pretty rad. So let's jump into the chat and see what folks are talking about. We got lots of people saying hello. We got Frost001, Bringer of Word. I always say this wrong. Sharfay Engel saying g'day. Cal Rose, Josh Young, Randy St. Denis here, Anthony Lee's here, Celtic's here, Brutal Tops is here, Brutalitops 27. What it do? Happy Brexit 1776. I saw that meme too. The Brexit 1776 Independence Day joke is one of my favorite jokes so far of today. We got Bob the Dice Skull saying, "Hey Ash" from the UK. We got the Jam Astronaut saying, "Well, hello." Chris S saying, "Apple juice is the lifeblood of any kid." It's true. It also comes for like 99 cents in a giant liter tin. So if you're a parent, kids kind of run on apple juice. What else? Surprising we don't have banana bags of apple juice. We might. We should. Actually, we used to when I was a kid. So banana bags, for those of you guys who don't know, are the bags that milk come in. For Canadians. Canadians get their bags, their milk typically in bags. It's very simple packaging, and you have this like little jug that you put them in. And when I was a kid, you used to be able, because you get chocolate milk that way, and you still can, and you used to be able to get apple juice that way too. You get apple juice in a bag. I remember that because we'd always have it at camp. That's how we get when like we'd go to like camp for the summer. We get these big pitchers of apple juice. So yeah, that was the thing. I don't know why it's not a thing anymore. What else we got here? Anthony, if I hear you say apple juice 3 times, it summons something. Probably my kids would get something if I say apple juice too many times. Blade Wolf 9 says, "I love the RUMBLESLAM video." Yeah, man. So that's the first thing I want to talk about was RUMBLESLAM. And you know what? We'll do some chat questions, and then we'll jump into the mailbag and take some mailbag questions too, because you guys are nice and active right now in the chat, which is good. I don't have any like long silences where I'm going to sit and staring at you guys, being like, please someone say something. So yeah, let's talk about RUMBLESLAM for a minute, because it's a really neat game, and you guys have just seen the Let's Play because it went up this morning. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it because it keys in on a bunch of things that I think are really cool and on my brain, which is that idea of a kitchen table game. So it is a super kitchen table game. You guys have heard me throw that idea around before. What I mean by that, of course, is it's a game that you can play on like a very small surface. So kitchen table game being a game that like you can play on your kitchen table, you can play it on a coffee table, you can play it on a small surface. It's played on a 12 by 12 square. Like unless you have a dice tray that's going to take up some space, it takes almost no space up to play on the gaming table, which is awesome. But it's a very complete game. Like it plays at a pace where even when you're down and out and you feel like you're taking damage and you're getting kicked around a little bit, you can still come back and like you can still reverse things. And it very much feels like a wrestling match. Like there's highs and lows and ups and downs. And it really fed into that. Like it was a great example of a kitchen table game. And so yeah, a little bit of backstory on it. It was done by the guys at the Troll Trader in the UK. And they started off as just like an e-commerce site for wargaming stuff. And they've since moved into the TD Combat brand, which is like doing like laser cut buildings. They have some really nice MDF buildings that I see all over the place. They do the modern houses for like modern apocalypse stuff. They do an MDF ring for RUMBLESLAM, which is really cool. And they did all the components for RUMBLESLAM themselves, which I think is really neat because it's very much a homebrewed game. So the models, obviously, I don't know if they have a lot of experience or if they've hired someone on staff to do that. I'm actually not super up on the story there. But all the laser cut like acrylic tokens, they've got their little like printed ring and stuff. All looks like it was done in house. Like even the dice probably were just commissioned by some like local dude to do the dice. And it's great. It's very much a homebrewed game. So I'm really excited that you guys liked it because it's really in the spirit of like these indie games that were done by a bunch of guys who clearly are fans of wargaming. They run a wargaming business, and they're also wrestling fans. And they just made something that was about something that they were really passionate about. So I'm glad you guys responded to it because I wanted to talk a little more, and I thought it was super, super cool. And yeah, no, it was rad. So what else we got here? Josh Young says, "God, I want some apple juice now." Who else we got here? The chat's like way run away from me while I was talking here, so I gotta go back and find out where I was at. Wee Green Stunties is here. It says your Rumble video made me buy the game. It looks like so much fun. Yeah, man, it's pretty rad. Starlight Night Flame says, happy belated Canada Day, Ash. I live in the US, but I'm not American, so I'm just enjoying an extra day off fiddling with my 3D printer. That was so funny. For the first year I lived in the US, because I moved to the US in 2010, I was like super not up on US holidays, and it screwed me up a whole bunch of times. And I don't know if he's watching right now, but my buddy Seth, if you guys are ever in the Bay Area in San Francisco, Seth runs the Game Castle in Fremont. Seth Amson, really cool guy. You'll never forget him. He's got the most awesome beard. It's more awesome than Yanlo's beard in Malifaux, although I think sometimes he wants to be Yanlo. He sent me an email once because I was his boss at the time, and I was supposed to have a meeting with him. And he's like, do I really have to come in and see you on Thanksgiving? And it was because I scheduled a meeting in like the middle of November, basically, on a Friday that was Thanksgiving, and I didn't realize it was Thanksgiving because it wasn't Black Friday. It was the Thursday before, and I just assumed it was middle of the week. I'm going to be in San Francisco. Like I will have a meeting with you, and because for me Thanksgiving, of course, if you guys are Canadian, you'd realize it's Columbus Day basically in the U.S. It's in October. And I totally screwed up, and I just had the day basically. I didn't know what was going on. I was in San Francisco, like everything was shut down. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. It's because I'd scheduled this trip over like Thanksgiving during the week. Because in the middle of the week too, like Thanksgiving makes no sense to me because it's not Thursday in the middle of the week all the time. Whereas ours is always like pushed to whatever the like closest weekend is. And yeah, I totally screwed it up. So like I completely understand being a non-American in the United States and like messing up holidays, because Seth sent me this really like reluctant email being like, you're my boss and I don't really want to say anything, but am I supposed to come in on Thanksgiving? And I'm like, no, you're not supposed to go home. Shut up. I'm just an idiot. Like, and I ended up spending the day, Thanksgiving Day, in like a Crown Plaza, like the Crown Plaza, like little crappy hotel, I think in Fremont in the Bay, and I think I went hiking. I think I went up to Mount Diablo. It was like a crappy day too. It was like raining, because November in San Francisco, it's either like really nice or it's raining like crazy. And it's one of those days where it's just raining like crazy, and I just went hiking in like the rain up to the top of Mount Diablo, and that was it. So yeah, so I can completely understand having a day off. John Smith, he says, hey Ash, if you had $1,500 to start on mini painting, What paints did you get? I'm looking for a fairly diverse mix of historical, ACW, Napoleonics. Okay, so you're doing historicals. That's good. Because typically when you do historicals, you're not going to need a lot of crazy colors. Like a good foundation paint set of basic colors, like primaries, plus like a metallic, some brown, stuff like that, will get you started, and you're going to be able to get away with painting whatever you're painting, probably with just that like field of colors. I know that I think it's going to depend on region too. What's going to be the cheapest and like easiest for you. Army Painter does a really good basic paint set. That's kind of like the old GW basic paint set. I would have said before the old GW basic paint set, but I don't actually know if it exists anymore. There used to be a hobby starter set that was like 65 bucks Canadian, and it was like all the primaries, a paintbrush, glue, clippers, flocks, sand. Like it was a really solid starter set. I actually don't know if GW makes it anymore. But I know Army Painter makes a version of that's really solid. I just saw some paints from a company, somebody's posting them online, called War Painter. I don't know a lot about them, but I think they're local to the US. So maybe check them out. I don't know where you're located because you're saying 50 to 100 bucks. So I'm going to say probably around there. And if they're local, they might have a starter set that's like a good deal. Obviously, these are companies that you're sometimes going to find. I know that Army Painter you can definitely get through distributors. So you'll find it at your local game store, or your local game store can probably order it. Whereas War Painter, I don't know if they have distribution, so you might have to go and look online. But those two companies, I know that Army Painter in particular makes a really good starter set. Bo does a lot of things that are sort of like in an old, because he used to work for GW, that were in like an old GW theme. So it's a good like core foundation of products, and then you can just go and add the paints you want onto it afterwards. And yeah, and that would be my recommendation right now, is that Army Painter one, because I know it comes with clippers and glue and stuff too. It's like basically the old GW one the same. What else we got? Quinn Murphy saying, hi there, Ashy. Ultramenta saying, hey, Ash, what's up, man? Peter Davies, sup? Bringer of word, give us America. I don't know if I can give you America. I'm not sure what America is. Can I say, do you want me to say America? America. That's America. There we go. I learned how to do that when I was living in Tennessee. Calrose says, hey, Ash, I've started Iron Hands. Any advice? If you can track them down, GW made some Iron Hands transfer sheets a few years back, and there was lots of them floating around online. And that'll save you a lot of time trying to paint those little fiddly symbols and cogs and stuff. So maybe see if you can find those. Other than that, check out, if you want to do a nice, solid, cool black on a whole bunch of models, check out a color from, and this will apply to anybody who's painting black power armor. Check out a color by Privateer Press called Coal Black. It's the best. It's like a blue-black. And if you airbrush that onto like solid black primer, like a GW black primer, an Army Painter black primer, you'll get a really good finish that you almost don't even need to highlight. And then you just paint all the other details around it. It's like cheating painting black. It's funny because the guys at Lords of War in Oakville, they don't carry any Privateer Press paints except that one paint because everybody loves it so much, and it's so good for painting black power armor. And it goes great through an airbrush too. What else we got? Bob the Dice Skull says, apple juice for the apple juice god. Yeah, that's pretty close. Sam Jones says, sup, yo. Blade Wolf 9 says, hi. Ultramenta, I'm super excited to see this evening and play some 30K. Hey, so I know who Ultramenta is. That's my man, Matt Tillman. He's coming in tonight to play some 30K. I don't know. Well, I'm not sure what you brought, Matt. Did you bring your Mechanicus or did you bring something else? I saw you were working on some Dark Angels, which I'm pretty jazzed about. This is my next project. When these gibbets get done, I actually did some airbrushing this the other day, and I finally got the basic colors on my knights. I don't know if you can see this. This should be focused on, but this is going to be the Red Fang and the Baroness. They're all in components right now. I actually went and primed them all, and then got all of the basic airbrushing done. And I got to start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint them in pieces, right? So I'm going to grab like a piece at a time and start doing it. First, sorry, Quinn Murphy says. Rhonda L says, greetings from Germany. Hi, Rhonda. Quinn Murphy says, your dice rolls in RUMBLESLAM were just brutal. Yeah, they're super crazy. It's one of those games where it's a lot like Blood Bowl, and because it uses like crazy dice, I find that you can set something up perfectly and just have the dice betray you. I've had that happen a couple times where I go to do like a high flying move or something like that, and the dice just like totally let me down. And then hilariously, the crowd like cheers when it happens. Like, I don't know, because they must hate that wrestler, and they love seeing him fail. So he must be like a closet heel or like an up-and-coming heel or something like that, which was pretty cool. Captain Sigismund, what's up? First time on your live stream? Well, welcome. I hope I don't disappoint. What else we got here? Josh Young, God, I want some apple juice now. Everybody wants apple juice. Are you going to be making more Dead Zone gameplays? Says Cervicus. It will be interesting. I've actually got 2 that are recorded already. Victor, buddy of mine, came in and he'd gotten at Adepticon a Forge Father starter set, and he painted the whole thing. He's like, how many models do I need to play? And I'm like, what do you have? He's like, I got the starter set for the Forge Fathers. I'm like, we could play forever, basically, which is what you have. Like, you have way more than enough stuff. And he painted the entire thing, and we recorded 2 games. I was a little rusty at it, and I was teaching too, so I'm not sure we got everything 100% right, but it was a blast. And they're both relatively quick because we played a 100-point and a 150-point game. And so what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to combine them into one battle report and just do like a 2-parter, basically, that comes out as one like episode. And that way you guys get some more Dead Zone. But that's coming up. I got some Dead Zone in the bank that I'm going to be doing soon. What else we got? Oh my god. The chat's so far away from me now. It's so crazy. Andy Green says, hey Ash, how's the arm? I've been seeing it taped up in the videos. Wargaming RSI. No, I have tennis elbow. So what happens when you start to get old is repetitive motion starts to affect you. And so I'm in the gym 4 days a week. I lift 4 days a week in the gym, and then I do cardio probably like 2 days a week. It's probably 5 or 6 days a week I'm usually in the gym. But this arm in particular, my left arm, I've got tennis elbow, which means there's a tendon down here that's not doing so well. So I have to do a lot of stretching. I got a little bit of physio I have to do to try and like work it out. It's not bad right now, but I really jacked it up a couple weeks ago. And so I was just wearing KT tape, just give it some support and try and let it heal. I took a week off actually, just because I was feeling like I was overtrained, which is just a feeling you get when like you've been like going to the gym consistently for like probably 6 months and your body hasn't. You've either gotten in a rhythm where like you haven't been resting enough, or you've done too much, you know what I mean, for too long. And I need to take a week off because that elbow just really started to kill. And I did, and it didn't get better as fast as it used to. So I just took another week where I was kind of like lightly training. And I taped it up with KT tape, and then I was actually just wearing KT tape when I was off too, just to give it some support, so I didn't like tweak it. Because like, I mean, I'm still like, you can once you're injured like that, especially like a tendon injury on the outside of your arm, you can do like I could pick my kid up, and I would tweak it again, and it would just like it would set it back basically to like being sore. And so I was just trying to give myself some extra support, and that stuff. It's funny because I used to be like, how can that possibly work? That stuff is stupid. And then I tried it, and it made such a difference. I will never make fun of like the Olympians I watched in Rio wearing it, being like, how can that possibly give you an extra support? Because it's actually just about how you tape up that part of your body. This just gives you a little bit of outside support, and actually I think part of it's even mental. It just reminds you that you're injured. You know what I mean? It reminds you that like that arm is not perfect, because a lot of times with a tendon injury especially, you'll feel fine, and then it's just a certain way you're moving it that hurts really badly. And when you're wearing the tape, at least you can remember like, oh yeah, don't be stupid with this arm. This arm needs to be okay in a week. And be able to pick my kids up and like haul them out of cars and stuff. Although interesting development with my kids, they've both decided they just want to get in and out of the car by themselves now. And so it's like, it's this weird thing where all I have to do is buckle them up. Like I just open the door, my daughter like climbs in, and I'm like, yeah, they don't need me. Like it's just this like super like freaky feeling where you're not sure why and how. Randy Dancini, Saint Denis, Dancini, said that too fast. Saint Denis says, super excited today. My Orklin Raiders came in today, so I'm cleaning them up while listening. Much better than Netflix in the background. That's awesome. Is it the new Orklin Raiders or the metal ones? Because I have both. And I have to say, the new ones are really nice, but the old ones are some of my favorite old Gary Morley Blood Bowl figures. Actually, the Blood Bowl games I just did recently with... Ben, he has a great collection of orcs, and he's got kind of, his whole thing is he always wants to have unique models, so he's got some of the Orklin Raiders going back through like the 80s. Like his orc team's rad because it's like a bunch of really classic old figs. Like he wants to have 4 Blitzers, he wants them all to be different. So the 80s, the 90s ones were all, I think there's 4 sculpts, and then he found like some old ones and stuff too. Brutalitops says RUMBLESLAM was sick looking. It was. Frost001 says hoping to get into Guild Ball soon. I have most of the Butcher's Guild and 2-player starter set, hoping to be able to launch from that. Dude, you got more than enough stuff. The cool thing with the 2-player starter set too is if you don't want to play with the teams, just paint them up, give them like basic paint jobs, and you have loners. It's a great game to take down to the club, or like just bust out when your friends are around that they're not even wargamers. Like, because that 2-player starter set, it looks like a board game. And you can kind of trick non-wargamers into trying it based on the fact that it's relatively, it's not, it's unthreatening, I guess would be the term I would say, because there's not that much stuff and it's on a very simple surface. It looks a little more approachable than some war games, which are very like scenery dense and stuff, like to the layman. Not as scary. Who else we got? Quinn Murphy says, "What's your favorite RUMBLESLAM miniature and why is it Ronnie Salvage?" I do keep mentioning Ronnie Salvage a lot, and yes, he is, I think, my favorite miniature. But so if you haven't checked out Quinn, if you haven't checked out the website, go check out the Troll Trader website, because like they've done so many like since then. And Tartan actually might be my favorite because it's Roddy Piper. And they made him like tiny. He's a halfling, so he's like tiny, which is pretty awesome too. Gravedigger's pretty great because it's the Undertaker mini. I'm actually not that big a fan of Gunn. Like, it's clearly supposed to be Hogan, but it doesn't like scream Hogan to me. I hope they do like one of the things I hope RUMBLESLAM does, and if you're listening to this guy, TT Combat guys, or if you listen to this in the future, I hope this is the thing you do, is steal a little bit from Guild Ball and do veteran versions of all your wrestlers. Do like experienced versions, because like one of the big key tropes in wrestling, which I think is really important, is that wrestlers change over time. Their story and their personas change as like the story evolves. And I'd love to see like Gunn and then like Hollywood Gunn, where like the first Gunn is, you know, he's a member of the Pit, and then later on, like as time goes on, he becomes a member of like Gomorrah or something like that. Like he sells out, you know what I mean? He becomes like the Hollywood Hulk Hogan. He does his big heel turn, because that was one of the big defining moments in wrestling when Hogan did his heel turn, because he was the ultimate face, right? He was like the face of wrestling, and would never have done a heel turn. And his doing a heel turn is like, it's one of these things that like blew everyone's mind, you know what I mean? Because he's the ultimate good guy, and all of a sudden he becomes the ultimate bad guy. Charvangle says, "So what are some more kitchen table games?" Obviously, like one of the most successful of all time is Blood Bowl, because it's not a miniature game, it's a board game that uses miniatures, right? Guild Ball that we just talked about, the 2-player starter set, it's the same thing. It's a fantasy sports game, and it's a board game that uses miniature games. It's not really a miniature war game. Frostgrave is a great kitchen table game, 3x3 surface. The Marvel DC game, Batman, is a great kitchen table game because he's a 3x3 surface. Malifaux can even be classified as a kitchen table game because it doesn't require that much scenery, and it's played on a 3x3 surface. Rogue Stars can be. Relic Blade, my boy Sean's awesome little skirmish, which actually we just finished the campaign for last night. Owen and I did the dramatic conclusion of Seekers and Sanctuary, which you guys will see. Oh my god, thrills and chills! It's crazy. The whole thing it's a ridiculous campaign. We had a lot of fun doing it, and we're gonna do it again. Where I'm gonna take over the bad guys. I'm gonna play the deep ones, and he's gonna do the good guys. But yeah, no, those are things that we class. Basically, if you play on a 3-foot or smaller like board, and you're relatively mini light, like you don't have a bajillion miniatures, then you're gonna have the ability to like to play it on your kitchen table, play it on your coffee table, whatever. And that's how I would class those games. They also tend to be like model light, like you only need like 5 to 10 games or 5 to 10 miniatures. Bushido's another good one. I was just thinking about that actually because I want to play some Bushido this week. Because Owen and I we haven't played Bushido in a while, and when we start playing skirmish, because we played 40k a whole bunch this last couple weeks just because we were giving it a go. And I played 40k actually with Ronnie, whose game you're going to see in a couple weeks, with Steve-O from Mountain Miniatures Gaming. Still struggling with that. And the like mass combat stuff. It was super fun because we hadn't done it in a while, playing like a company level game, but then going back and playing like a little skirmish game like Relic Blade, I think for me at least, I was just like, oh, yeah, that's right. I can play one 40k game a night, or I can play like 7 games of Bushido and be equally satisfied by the experience. You know what I mean? Be equally satisfied by each game because I get a bunch more games in. And so that to me is what defines a kitchen table game. When you guys eventually see the new version of it, my zombie game is also a kitchen table game for that reason. Because I like games where you get this like satisfaction out of playing a few games. Some games which you'd think would be kitchen table games aren't. Like for instance, Mordheim isn't really because it's played on a 4-foot surface. It's a bit big for that. Although you can scale it back, which I think is cool. Same with like Shadow War and Necromunda. They're not played with a lot of models, but they're played with a pile of scenery, and they're played on relatively big tables. And like the weapon ranges require that too. Like you shoot relatively far, and so it doesn't compact down as much as like a kitchen table game normally does. Gore Chosen is a great one though. Gore Chosen is definitely a kitchen table game. Great club game because it doesn't require that many models. And like it's that Street Fighter style approach of like you know, these sort of like combat games. And it's funny, that's always something that I've always wondered why no one's approached. And it might just be a problem getting the license, but why no one's done fighting games like Street Fighter, you know what I mean? Those arcade style like beat 'em ups as a miniature game. Because like it's got this obvious IP appeal. There we go, the first one's done. We've highlighted it. Doesn't need too many highlights, but it's got all its little edge highlights. It doesn't need too many models, but like you get a lot of like I think enjoyment out of it. CJ Phoenix says, hey everybody. Twitchy Kranos says, hey guys. Simon Stevenson, hey Ash, how's the channel doing? You live on YouTube nowadays? Yeah, man. Simon, if you haven't picked up the live stream before, I replaced my old Q&A show, which I was really struggling to find time to do at the studio with this live show. It took some time to get to though, because I had to invest in a bunch of technology to do it, because obviously I'm a Mac guy, so I need things like a capture card for my cameras. I needed stands. I needed to get it all set up to do basically. But now it's set up. I do it every Monday. I do one Monday live on YouTube, and then the next Monday for my patrons unlisted, and then it goes live on YouTube later on. So you can jump on every 2 weeks and chat with me live. Any plans for more 8th edition in the future? Yeah, I've got guys that are super stoked about Fantasy. They tend to all be out-of-towners, though. I don't play a lot of it locally, but I'm sure you will see more 8th edition again on Throwback Thursday. It's a game we never get tired of playing. Quinn Murphy also is the Death Road to Canada live stream in 1 hour if we get more. We'll probably do more video game stuff. I also picked up... what you call it, not Battle Brothers, that's the other one that Owen was playing. I picked up Darkest Dungeon, which I want to give a try. I haven't even booted up yet. Like, that was literally, that whim of, like, I bought some games on the Steam sale, the summer sale, was, hey, look, Mac OS games are on sale. That never happened, so I picked them up. And then, hey, I wonder what my rig is like for streaming video games. And it was just that, like, satisfying my curiosity is why I did the stream. If you guys enjoyed it, I'll totally do it again. I might explore doing it on another platform though, just that it doesn't, because like one of the problems is my YouTube stream gets pushed to a bunch of third-party sites like Bell Lost Souls and stuff, and it's video game content, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense showing up there. So what I might do instead is explore actually like my Twitch channel and stuff like that and do it on there instead. Because I do have a Twitch channel. If you search on Twitch as Guerrilla Miniature Games, it has nothing on it, and I haven't actually set it up yet to like stream. But now that I've got like live cast and stuff set up, it just take me 5 minutes to like log in, do all my presets for Twitch, and push to it and actually Twitch and just like Twitch stream instead. And that way it wouldn't get pushed like anywhere it's not supposed to go. And Twitch is another platform I just want to explore, eventually, and exploring it for something like that would probably be done there. Starlight Night Flame. Ooh, Game Castle in San Jose rocks. I love that place. Got such a great inventory despite the size of the store not being all that big. So sad I live so far away from it. Yeah, no, it's funny. It's right by the airport. So whenever I'd fly in and out of San Jose, because I would always fly to San Jose instead of SFO. I didn't fly to Oakland, though, because Oakland's a crappy airport. But I would fly in and out of San Jose when I go to California or Northern California to the Bay. And the Game Castle is like literally around the corner from the airport. So I'd land... and usually, like, I'd land, and I couldn't check into my hotel yet, so I would just go to Game Castle and go browse, and, like, just go check out what they have. They have a really esoteric inventory, which I kind of like. I think, like, I actually like it the best, because I'm not actually, like, a gamer. Like, I was always just visiting of all the Game Castles. I haven't actually been to Seth's new Game Castle, actually, so I shouldn't say that, because his one in Fremont could be awesome. But they have, like, weird old inventory there. And I always appreciated that about the place, because like I'm one of those guys that I don't just like seeing like new hot miniature games. I like kicking the dust off the stuff that they haven't sold in like 10 years either. Which is kind of why I like another shout out is Sentry Box in Calgary. It always has like a great deep inventory of like old crap they've never gotten rid of. And like the last time I was there, I mean this is 10 years ago, this is 2007. I went into their like archive room of like miniature stuff they haven't sold in forever. And kicked open a box and just found like a bunch of like unopened Vor miniatures. I was like, oh, I could just totally start like a Union Army for Vor. Let's go buy some Ares battle suits and some Vor like special force, some Union special forces and stuff. And I think I actually did buy some stuff while I was there. I think I might have bought an Ursa battle suits for my Neo Soviets that never got painted. It's funny, that game came and went so fast. My Neo Soviets never actually got paint on them. I think I gave my Growlers away to somebody because I had the starter set, the 2-player starter set. I think I gave my Growlers to my buddy Nico. Because we were going to do it. Because it was this one of these two miniature games with Warzone that was kind of challenging GW around the time of the 2nd edition starter set. And it was neat because the game included rules for using any miniatures you want and making your own force lists, which was kind of cool. But like at the same time, it was FASA and it just fell apart towards the end. What else we got? Ultramenta says, hey, Ash, do you want to see my Templar stuff this evening? I can bring it for shiggles. Yeah, man, bring your stuff. That's cool. I'll check it out. Sharpie says, what are you working on right now? I'm working on these little cages from Arsenal. Blue Moose 1231 says, Mount Diablo is maybe the most badass mountain name ever. Yeah, there's a couple of, like, because, like, basically it's the bay of San Francisco is surrounded by mountains. And Mount Diablo is the one to the north. I guess it's kind of like northeast of the bay. But it's a really nice mountain, beautiful, like, area. I used to try and, like, go watch the sunrise, because one of the things I would do is when I have two big hobbies, right? I paint toy soldiers, and I like getting outside. Those are, like, my two big things. When I was traveling tons with Workshop, one of the things I would do is I would pack paints to, like, paint models in my hotel room. That's how, like, I would kind of, like, relax and I'd get projects done. I would pack, like, literally, like, most people's carry-ons would be, you know, like, shaving cream and, like their special soaps and stuff. And mine would be, like, a whole bunch of Citadel color and a paintbrush. And then, you know, my other hobbies, like, that doesn't pack very well. Like, I'd bring, like, 2 or 3 models and I'd paint them, but that wouldn't fill up, like, if I was traveling for, like, a week. You know, like, my evenings, basically. But it's really easy to pack hiking boots. Like, you just, you know, you can go hiking anywhere. And so I would try and get up early, because most of my, you know, my work time would start around noon. It's when the stores would open. And I'd just get up early and go find, like, a local peak and go, like, climb up there at, like, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and watch the sun come up, eat some breakfast, come down, have a shower, you know, pack up, go to work for 8 hours, be super tired, go to bed, sleep well, not get any jet lag, that kind of stuff. Peter Davies says, when will Corvus Belli sort out this phase-shifting spec-fire grenades? How should they do it? So this is for you guys who don't know what we're talking about. Corvus Belli makes Infinity. One of the most controversial rules in the current edition of Infinity is speculative fire. So speculative fire in most games is called indirect fire, and it's where you're shooting something you can't see, right? You're parabolic firing a grenade or something, like, over a building. And the assumption is that, like, drones are, like, hacked into security nets. There's always some way you can see your target. Like, you can fire at something that's out of your line of view, because you have some idea of where things are in the battle zone. In Infinity, though, the game rule allows you to do so even into, like, an enclosed space. There doesn't have to be an open trajectory to do it, and even the FAQ doesn't super address that to that specific rule. And so you can do things like you can spec fire grenades into closed doors where there's no windows, where there's no nothing. You kind of just have to roll with it, man. Like, I don't think it needs fixing, because at least right now the rule is super clear. You know what I mean? And it goes both ways. Like, both you and your opponent have the option of taking stuff that can speculative fire. You know, grenades can do it, grenade launchers can do it, whatever. And it cuts both ways. Like, as long as it affects both sides equally, I don't really care about the rule. And I just imagine that they're doing things like firing it through an air vent. Like, there's something we can't see. Or they just have smart guns. You know what I mean? Like, they have rolling bullets that, like, roll under a door and go and, like, leap up in the air and explode. Like, all of that stuff, spring mines, like, all that stuff existed in World War II. And I imagine it exists in, like, the super far future. So I'm just kind of okay with it. I just let my imagination come up with whatever the reason is. And it doesn't come up often enough in a game that it usually bothers me. Because if it comes up, it usually comes up with grenades, like hand grenades. And to be able to actually do it, you need to be close enough that I can imagine there's some way that guy threw that grenade there. I'm not super going to worry about it. Armor Freak says, thanks, Ash. Due to your earlier video today, I've been talking like Randy Savage all day. Oh, yeah! That's not, there's no, was the line from Spider-Man? Oh, yeah, it was Bonesaw. I got you for 3 minutes. There's nothing wrong. You know, they have Talk Like a Pirate Day. I'm honest. I think that for you guys in the United States, you're letting the rest of the world down if you don't start an international Talk Like Randy Savage Day. It just should be a thing. Like, somebody out there on the internet, get on it. There should be International Slim Jim Day or something like that, like where everyone has to talk like Ronnie Savage for a whole day, because that would be even more fun than Talk Like a Pirate Day. Talk Like a Pro Wrestler Day or something like that. You guys get on that. Come on, you're good at starting movements. Duke of Skull says, can you dry brush that coal black or just paint it on if you don't do airbrushing? You could. It just looks way better airbrushed. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely dry brush it. I wouldn't. I would just airbrush it. If you don't have access to an airbrush, I mean, a really light dry brush of it, but it'd have to be like zenithal, because it works really well when you're doing it from above. And then you're getting into like technical dry brushing that I don't know if you're comfortable with or not. So you can give it a try. I mean, the cost is find a random Space Marine, you know, get one of those demo fig Space Marines from GW, and buy a pot of paint. So your total cost is probably $5 to experiment and see if it works. Anthony Lee says, what are your knights going to be armed with? So I made a paladin and a warden, and that means I got a rapid fire battle cannon, the big Punisher cannon, the fist, which I'm told now I should just never use. Sorry. I like the model. I'm just going to use it anyway. And I think it's hilarious. If I do actually kill something with it, and then I get to throw something, like I get to throw a tank and another tank and do mortal wounds, I will laugh. And therefore it is worth the, I guess, not being the most efficient weapon. And then they've got the Stormtrooper missiles in the back, and the other one's got the big autocannon in the back. So just stock knights. Like I just took them as like the stock like thing for their chassis. I have a Renegade box, and that's what they came from. So I didn't buy the knights individually. I bought them in the Renegade box because like in Canada, that was the most mind-bending deal because it was like $180 Canadian for a single Imperial Knight, or for $210 or something like that, $215. You got 2 of them, and I was just like, I should have just bought 2 of these boxes. If I'd had the money, which I very rarely do. Like it was a big actually spend for me to pick up those knights and then never use them, which I sort of, you know, I'm not regretting now because I'm going to put them on the table and they're going to get used. But at the time, they broke me just to build them, and they were going to be used for Horus Heresy, but I'm just using them regular 40k now. But I wish I'd bought a second box because I would rather have. I'd like to have a whole maniple of knights. You know what I mean? Have like 3, and then have like a leader knight, like a veteran, as like your HQ, which you could very easily do actually as a in the new 40k. You could take a super heavy detachment and then take a supreme command detachment, and it would be badass. Like it'd be really cool to just see. Not that I think it would be very good in the game, but it would look super duper cool. Yeah, so that's what I'm with. What else we got? Yeah, oh, someone just mentioned, jeez. I've missed so many questions. I've got so many questions. What do you guys remember with? Can you smell it? Brutalitop says, can you smell what the rock is cooking? I cannot in Canada. Pepjin Bauman says, praise be upon lady averages. Yes. Duke of Skulls says, you got some plans to spruce up my Black Legion for 8th edition. It's cool. I think that's happening with everybody is 8th edition's got people that haven't played 40k in a while, kind of like dusting off their armies. To see what those armies do now, which is good for GW because as you look at your armies and you see what they do, you see things that you might not have ever gotten to that you're excited about, which is exactly how my knights are getting painted. That's the way that miniature projects get done. Is you start playing with something, you have fun with it again, and then you go, oh crap, I have all this unpainted crap that I never finished. Let's go check that out and see what that's gonna look like. First, Captain Sigismund says, any Black Templars here? Yes, Ultramenta has his Black Templars. Frost says, Ash, do you look forward to the upcoming Infinity Games Aristia? Yeah, man, I'm super stoked for it, actually. I've got an Aristia Facebook already set up, or a group set up on Facebook already. If you want to go check it out, it's pretty hopping. Carlos has been in there, actually chatting about the game with people. So if you want to talk to Carlos about the game and whatever he can share, he's in that Facebook group right now. And if you go like, yo, Carlos, and just tag him and ask him questions, the stuff he can share, he'll totally talk to you about, which is super cool. What else we got? Matthias says, aloha, wondering if you got any Malifaux vids coming up. Also, what's your best tip on filming Malifaux bat reps? Okay, so I have a bunch of Malifaux vids already like uploaded, and I've got more that I'm filming this weekend, actually, with one of the lads from Forbes Hobbies. The thing was that we're on the Infinity campaign right now, and whenever we do the worldwide campaign for Infinity, I just go all Infinity until the campaign's over. So there's next month, so at the end of July, beginning of August, it goes back to being every other week. It's gonna be Infinity and Malifaux and Batman and all that stuff. And the videos are already filmed. They're scheduled way off because until the worldwide campaign's over, I am very deep into Infinity right now, as it is one of my true loves for miniature games. And I'm literally getting like new scenarios every 2 weeks. Like I haven't even gotten to play through all the scenarios from the current pack from Phase 2 of Wotan, and they've already posted like the 10th. I got new scenarios, so I got to hold off filming right now because I don't want to film any of the old scenarios and put them up. But then my buddy Daviet's coming in the week that those come out, and we're gonna crush out the last 3 games of the new Wotan. So actually, I'm gonna do one with Owen, and then the last 2 will be with Dave, and we'll have done every week an Infinity video. Actually, one we did 2 a week for. So like just Infinity players, I'm hoping are happy that they've gotten basically just like wall-to-wall Infinity videos for 2 months. I know Carl's happy. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. What else we got? Ultramenta Ash. I'm bringing my Mechanicum 2,000 points. So bring the nasty because you're playing them for revenge. Oh, no. If you guys want to see, so I played Matt last time at the Comic-Con in whatchamacallit, Tucson, and he ruckused me with this Mechanicum list, and like, it wasn't through like bad tactics either. Like, it was just like there was nothing I could do. The dice just betrayed me. I think I killed more of my own stuff on my turn with his like Overwatch fire and stuff than any other way. It was bananas. Like, I had a chance. It wasn't like the army was like so powerful I couldn't take it, but like everything just fell apart in like one turn, and it's amazing. So yeah, if you go back through the M31 playlist and you check out my my game from Tucson Comic-Con, yeah, Matt just totally, it's in Zone Mortalis, dude, and he just totally ruckuses me. It's pretty great. So yeah, I'm playing for revenge. We're out of the Zone Mortalis now. I get to bring my tanks. So hopefully I'm going to do a little bit better. What else we got? Judge Lazar says, what are your thoughts on Executioner Pad and Lehman Russes with the changes to shooting and plasma weapons? Many people use them. Have they become any less dangerous to themselves? So the thing with the Executioner, I mean, they do mortal wounds themselves, right? Because they got the plasma vent, so they don't just die. It's just like the dreads. Anything with a plasma cannon now has the chance of like taking mortal wounds when they fire, if they roll ones. But there's so many things to mitigate that. Like, almost every army has some ability to reroll ones, right? So like you've got a whole bunch of like ways to make that happen. Whether it's adding +1 to hit, which means all your ones become 2s. Whether it's re-rolling ones, like just natively, like with your tank commander, or you take Pask, you take whoever, can issue orders to tanks. All that stuff mitigates those plasma weapons and makes them super viable. So they're quite powerful. You also just have the ability to not use them on superpower charge mode, which I know it feels like you might be using one hand behind your back, but sometimes that's okay. Like, I used, what is it? Assault Marines for the first time in a long time in a game I played recently against Ronnie and his Emperor's Children, which you guys will see in a few weeks. And I was super impressed. I was like regretting not having flamers in my squad until I realized that, one, when I deep strike, I can't use them. I have to be 9 inches away. So deep striking Assault Marines, literally, if they have flamethrowers, can never like alpha something with flamethrowers, which I think is intentional. Like, it's partly intentional, and it means that like flamethrowers aren't overly powerful for those guys. They're still really good to give them to, but they're not amazing. And 2, you can use them in melee because you get around to shooting. You can shoot your pistols at guys you're engaged with, which means you can, if my force commander's nearby, which he was at the time, you can turbocharge and just like blast dudes with your plasma pistols while in melee, and it's like getting a free round of combat. So that was actually really powerful and was something I liked a lot more than I thought I was going to. So plasma weapons, I don't think, if you're planning on taking them, just build it into your list. Like, take a guy that's going to offset those ones when you roll them. Or give you +1 hit or whatever, and they are just fine. They work great. Like, I mean, yeah, there's still a risk factor. You can kill yourself, but I'm okay with that. If I've done everything I can and the dice just betray me, I accept that sometimes the dice let me down. Because that's going to happen. Sometimes, no matter what you do, you're going to just triple skull and Blood Bowl, and the whole thing falls apart. The whole play just breaks, and there was nothing you could do about it because it was not meant to be. And I have a que sera mentality when it comes to that stuff. I'm okay with the dice letting me down. As long as my plan was okay, I'm fine with it. So I think those tanks are fine. Caleb Snyder says, hey Ash, if you were going to paint and assemble another trader force for Heroic Cersei, what legion would you choose other than the 20th, of course? It's going to be Space Wolves. I already started them. I mean, I painted some Space Wolves for Prosper Burns, and I just haven't gotten back to them. But I might actually paint that stuff now for 40k. And just have it double in. So when the new 30k rulebook comes out, like, I'll be excited about it then. And the nice thing is that I can just make both. I'll make probably the core stuff fit both games. It could be Space Wolf stuff for 40k, or Space Wolf stuff for 30k. And as they say, Robert is your father's brother. And I've got a new army for 30k and 40k. Actually, it'll probably expand my 40k army because my 40k army for Space Wolves is all on old bases, and except for the Terminator. So the only thing that really bothers me about my Space Wolf army right now is actually just the Marines, because they're not on the right bases. And so painting new infantry for 30k would also mean that like I would have 40k guys that would make me happy again. And I love Space Wolves; they're awesome. Space Wolves are one of my original loves in 40k. As they are manly space Vikings with glorious beards and a general disregard for the rules. So I have a certain thing in common with them. Quinn Murphy says, Ash is getting swollen in the gym. What's your deadlift, bro? Says Kristen. It's funny. With my back the way it is, I actually don't... I do more yoga, actually, than I do deadlifts now. I still do deadlifts. I usually just deadlift, like, I don't know, like 4 plates. So, like, 210. Like, I don't deadlift a whole bunch. But, like, with my lower back, with my kids, like, that's one of the things. When you have kids, you realize... You're basically doing deadlifts all day. Because picking your kids up is like a tiny deadlift of like 30, 40 pounds. And you're doing it like 500 or 600 times a day. My back is always so wrecked. I do like a lot of yoga for my back. And I tend to deadlift not that much because, you know, when you're deadlifting little children all the time, you feel like you don't really want to when you're at the gym. So I did a little bit on leg day. And that's usually it. But I don't go hard anymore, man. I just go... As my body slowly decays and falls apart, you know, as I get closer to 40, they basically start to rot from the inside. What else we got? Rob Cunningham, what kind of lifting do you ask? And what's your numbers? I'm not going to talk about this. It's a wargaming thing, man. We're going to talk about what I lift. Paul Giamatti says, do you recommend any 40K books? I enjoyed Nightbringer and First and Only. Anything other than those series? Paul, if you haven't read them, read the Eisenhorn trilogy. It is... So anybody who's even remotely, like, doesn't wargame, but is remotely interested in wargaming, I actually always have start with Eisenhorn and then read the Ravener trilogy. And the reason for that is, it's the Imperium not from the point of view of war, which I think was a big failing of 40K fiction up until it was written, was we only saw the 40K universe from the point of view of its wars. You know, everything was from the point of view of Space Marines or Guardsmen or whatever the protagonists in the miniature games were. Whereas the Eisenhorn trilogy is the first time that we get to see sort of like the soft white underbelly of the Imperium, of the people that live the everyday lives in the Imperium. And that was a truly like remarkable book for its time. And I think part of why it's so popular and such a cult classic now with 40K fans. It shows its age a little bit in that it's kind of the beginning of the Daniverse along with like the early Gaunt's Ghost stuff. And so some of the terminology kind of jumps around because Dan's actually inventing like the new 40K like parlance, like things like Voxcasters and stuff. Like all of those names that you kind of take for granted of like little bits of technology in the Imperium right now are usually just like throwaway statements in Dan Abnett novels, which is why there was that joke that there was the 40K universe until Dan came along and now there's the Daniverse, which is the Dan Abnett version of 40K, which is even cooler than regular 40K. And that's kind of the point at which it stopped just reading like fan fiction for the miniature games and started being its own sort of like established universe. So highly recommend the Eisenhorn trilogy. It says more about, I think, the soul of 40K than any book that's been written before or since. And then the Ravenhorn trilogy is fantastic as well. Ravener trilogy is fantastic as well. And just recently, well, actually, it's not recently anymore. They haven't done a new one yet. But they've started Ravener versus Eisenhorn, which is the Beckwin trilogy, I guess, is what we'll call it. What else we got? Erasmus Berger says, hi, Ash. If given a chance to edit the rules for Infinity, what would you change to improve the game? Besides Mutawa Gazis? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Infinity's a great game. It's so dense. It's hard to say, really. I don't feel like there's anything I can particularly pick apart. It has its challenges, but all of its challenges are kind of necessary. Like the amount of terrain you need is a challenge to Infinity, right? Because a lot of people don't have that kind of collection of terrain when they play it for the first time. But without the ARO system, it's not the same game. Like it's not the same problem-solving mechanical game that I love about Infinity. Because Infinity's all about working puzzles, right? Every turn that you start, you have X number of moves basically to unlock a puzzle. And the puzzle is where your opponent is and what he's doing versus what you need to accomplish. And I think that's why I always come back to Infinity. I love it so much, is I love the problem solving built into the game, and I wouldn't want that to go away. And if that does make it a bit dense and unapproachable, that's just kind of a byproduct of the kind of game it is. So I think it's okay to be the way that it is, and I really don't know what I would rewrite, particular for rules. I think I would want to make some things better, but that's like individual units. That's all on a case-by-case basis. That isn't really a core mechanic for the game. So I don't know. I struggle with that question because I don't really know. All right, let's go and jump into the mailbag because I haven't answered. We're an hour in. I haven't done anything for the mailbag yet. And you guys are super active today, which I'm excited about. You're asking lots of questions. A couple, like 100 and change you in the chat right now. So let's do this one right here. Piece of Ash, live on YouTube, episode 9. Analyze results, and let's take some questions from the mailbag. First one. Your name, Quis moderatus ipsos moderators. All right. Who moderates the moderators? Hi, Ash. I'm building a table for Infinity with a clean, high-tech look. Can you recommend any terrain that would fit with that look? The Q building, if you're trying to do it on a budget, the Q buildings from Bandua are fantastic. They do a really good, like clean, just sort of like tech set of buildings. And then I haven't seen them in person, but I was really impressed by the modern buildings from Hexagon Mill. Hexagon Mill's done some stuff that looks like it's designed for modern. It's not actually designed for Infinity. But it's like houses with like glass. It's like these big open concept, modern looking houses with like glass windows and stuff. And I would love to use them for Infinity or even my zombie game because they just look like the nice part of town. You know what I mean? Like these great, like sort of standard looking buildings. Yeah, check out the Hexagon Mill stuff. I don't know if it's for sale. I haven't seen it for sale, but I've seen it on their webpage and it's super cool. So like maybe you can message them, send them some. Next up, a guy from Germany asks, hey Ash, do you hang out with Owen aside from the studio time? Sports, movie theaters, whatever, love your channel. Dude, I don't hang out with anybody besides my time in the studio. Like literally, Owen is one of like 4 grown-ups that I spend time with. Because I'm with my kids. Like the rest of the time it's all sippy cups and apple juice and going to the park and doing stuff. It's funny, we've got a play group put together from all of the parents that were in their gymnastics class. Their gymnastics class turns into a summer camp in the summertime. And so a bunch of the parents, we got together and we just started like meeting up once a week when we were normally going to gymnastics, just so the kids keep playing together because they all became friends. And like, it's so funny because you can tell with all of us, like I showed up to the first one and I bought like a bunch of coffee and like donut, called Timbits in Canada, little like donut pieces for the kids to eat. And I got coffees for everybody who were going to be there. Like I got coffees for all the parents. I didn't really know what they were going to have. So I put like milk and sugar aside like for them. And you could see this look of like joy on the other parents' faces as like another parent showed up with coffee, you know what I mean? And like we had to have like a grown-up conversation for 5 minutes while the kids all entertain themselves at the park. So yeah, no, I don't like, oh, and I do, I mean, we do, I shouldn't say we don't, because we do, we go to the bar sometimes and we'll, you know, go and like, go to tournaments together and stuff like that. So like when I do have free time, I do something for myself. We do hang out together inside the studio, but like the studio is my free time basically, right? Like you guys get to see all of my free time. Harold Slanish says, I love you and your channel. No, that's nice. Thanks, Harold Slanish. Matt says, thanks for the show. Are you interested in RSI by CB? We cover it in your channel. Yes, I will. We talked about that earlier. Pacific Rim Job's back. Awesome. Describe your ideas for a Miners Guild team for Guild Ball. So, it's funny because I actually was thinking about that recently because I was thinking about game design. And I was also thinking about the Farmers Guild. Because one of the things I love about the Farmers Guild, now that I've seen the rules for them, is that they ran with the theme for the Farmers Guild, right? So it's all about reaping and sowing. The Farmers Guild make plays around their reap markers, which is this little marker where like they put down like they basically plant crops and then they can reap the crops later on. So they telegraph their plays a little bit, but because you can do that in multiple areas, you can kind of like have 2 or 3 locations your play is going to come from, and it's nice that the theme plays into the game design. To me, that's really healthy game design where you have a rule not just for the sake of having a rule. You have a rule because it also makes the game feel a certain way. And I love that the farmers feel like farmers. They feel like they are playing the way a bunch of fantasy farmers would play this fantasy sport. You know what I mean? They do it with the tools they have and the things they know. And so yeah, so I really enjoyed that. And so I think it would be much the same with the Miners Guild. If I got to have like my druthers and design the Miners Guild, it would be what kind of rules do you create for miners, or character types do you create for miners that make them feel like they are miners? You know what I mean? So you'd have to have all of your mining tropes. You'd have to have like the prospector, the guy who's like obviously the explorer. You know, so if you guys have ever seen the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Ranger like animated movie, the one that's all like stop motion, Yukon Cornelius is very much like the living, I guess, or the Hollywood example of what a prospector should be. So this guy who goes out and he looks for silver and gold, and his whole life is basically exploring adventure. and how do you reflect that in the rules? You know what I mean? So if you have your prospector as like a member of the Miners Guild, how is he like the vanguard? How is he the guy out there like blazing a trail basically and leaving things behind that are markers and signifiers in the game? So, you know, in a game design point of view, it's just completely spitballing, but like you got your prospectors, then you've got like your surveyors, and then you've got like your laborers. So like you have like 3 kind of like positions in the team, and that could all just be, you can replace all those terms with like forwards, midfielders, and then like defensive players. And then what are the interlocking abilities that make it so that your forwards, who are your prospectors, are out basically like sampling and finding spots where there's a strike, and then when there's a strike, how is it the people who are like your samplers come out and then take advantage of the strikes to get the ball where it needs to be and stuff like that. So I think that's the big thing, is I would want them to feel like they're operating like miners would playing a fantasy sports game. And so, yeah, and so like the game design would need to reflect that. You'd have to have a theme, which obviously in the Farmers Guild is reaping and sowing. And then it's, you know, how do you do that in the Miners Guild? Well, it'd be like prospecting and basically like I would say processing. Like what term would I use? Exploring and surveying, maybe, like something like that. That would be how I do it. So yeah, one more and then we'll go back to the chat. The Lonely Orc says, what are your favorite stories from the Horus Heresy series so far? It can include novellas or audio dramas or full books. Well, one of my all-time favorites for the Horus Heresy is absolutely going to be the First Heretic. And the reason I love the First Heretic is, one, I love Aaron Dembski-Bowden's writing style in 40K, because it's so 180 degrees from the way that 40K is normally written. 40K tends to take itself very seriously. 40K writing especially, because it reads almost as fan fiction. It tends to take the topic very seriously and even a bit deadpan. Whereas there's always a hint of a grin in Aaron Dembski-Bowden's writing. There's always this like underlying tone of like cynicism and disbelief and questioning that I find really refreshing, because it humanizes the universe and creates this authenticity, I think, to the writing. And so that the First Heretic very much relies on that, because a lot of the characters are true believers and the others are skeptics. And it deals with some pretty heavy, like I guess like religious overtones too, right? Because it's Lorgar struggling with, you know, what his legion's going to become and the decision he's making basically to deify something else, and he wants to find something to believe in. And seeing that from the outside, they've got Argel Tal and these other characters that are there to kind of frame that. And for Lorgar, it's all about trying to find something to believe in, right? The Emperor won't let him believe in him, even though the Emperor is clearly manifesting himself as a god. And so Lorgar is trying to find something else to replace that. And from the point of view of like Argel Tal, for instance, Argel Tal has this horrific experience, which I won't spoil for you guys, but he doesn't just get to like, he doesn't come back and be like, yeah, here's these new gods we can totally believe in. He's like, no, these things are real. Like, this isn't like, they're not necessarily gods. They're like aliens from another dimension, and they 100% exist. And here's how I can show you that they do. And hey, look, there's one living inside me. Like, so it's funny, because even at that point in the writing, Aaron Dembski-Bowden's showing the lunacy of this like path that like the word bearers are going down, and their deification of like the demons and stuff like that. And one of them, you know what I mean, Argel Tal, who's this like champion in their legion and is still held up as being a champion, like inside he's just like, oh my god, it's still just science. Like, they're just these intergalactic things, and I'm like host to one now, and there's nothing we can do. This is all out of my control. Like, this is happening, and he just accepts it. And you get to see like both sides of the coin, right? Where half the legion's turning into this like rabid bunch of fanatics, but then the guy that comes back that basically brings them the truth is like still this like, he's not a believer, he's a skeptic, he's stuck being the guy that's inhabiting with one of these things. So it's pretty awesome. I like it a lot. Caleb Snyder in 8th, what do you like more, Khorne Berserkers or Noise Marines? I played against Noise Marines. They're obnoxious. And Ronnie, you told me they were going to be obnoxious, and they are obnoxious. I think Noise Marines are one of the best things in the game, because they have this crazy ability that when you kill one of them, they get to make a round of shooting. And we got it a bit wrong in the game, which you'll see later on, but like if you fight like a 20-man unit of guys with sonic weapons, and every time you kill one, they just lay into whatever's around them with guns. It's crazy. Like it can really mess you up, because you even like, even as you're killing them, you're taking casualties, and it can be really demoralizing. I've had some people talking about Khorne Berserkers like they're super amazing, and they seem to be, because they just throw so many dice now. You can work them up to have so many attacks. It's awesome. I just don't. I'm really struggling with close combat in general in 40K now, because you can just walk away. And it's disruptive more than it is anything else. Like, it keeps tanks from shooting, and the whole idea of like bumping into something to keep it from shooting is like a totally valid tactic. But actually, like, committing to like tabling your opponent, there's very few units that I see as being like real contenders for doing that, because the amount of damage you take going in is a huge like stopper basically from you being able to effectively use that as your primary tactic. I can see a use for them in like a combined arms army, but I don't know that basing your whole army off of it is going to actually get you the win, right? It's a very one-dimensional thing. You're really going to have to just go all out and charge towards somebody and hope that you kill them all. And if you don't, you're going to have a bad day. So I think in Sonic Weapons, the Noise Marines are amazing because they just have 2 attacks, which you get instead of the initiative bonus anymore, because like you used to have initiative bonus. Initiative's not in the game anymore. So like instead they have 2 attacks, and you can buy them chainswords, I'm pretty sure. So they have 3 attacks each potentially, which is nuts. So they still fight really well in melee, but they can all be armed with Sonic weapons, which are bananas good, like super good. Celtic says, hey Ash, jumped back into 40K after leaving in 2nd edition, picked up Big Deathwatch Army on eBay. What's the best way to strip paint and repaint models? It depends on where you live, man, because like the chemical compounds for doing that are all going to be different, you know what I mean, where you live, like what's legal and what's around. And so the big thing I would say is, if you can get it simple green purple, the industrial simple green is great. We use that a lot. But again, it's going to depend on what kind of paint is on the models. Sometimes if the paint jobs aren't too thick, put them in some simple green, scrub them down. Don't try and get all the primer off, and then just reprime them and go from there. Like, don't just, if it's really gunked on there, let them sit, try and do your best to get it off. But if it's not a super thick paint job, like if it's been airbrushed and stuff, just give them a scrub down with simple green just to get, even if it doesn't get all the paint off, it's going to get all the dust and stuff sitting on the models, you know what I mean, that was on the models off. Pop them off their bases, get whatever grit was on the bases off, rebase them if you can, if you want to. And then just prime them again, because the primer's gonna shrink a little bit anyway, and pull most of the detail back on the model. So that's my recommendation. Randy Santini, yeah, I got the new Orcs. I'm friends with Ben. Oh, cool. So we try to get a game as much as we can. Cool. I love his collection of old Blood Bowl minis. He loves his classic models. Yeah, Benoit and I are birds of a feather. Benoit's an old buddy of mine from GW, who is the manager at the Montreal Warhammer store at Games Workshop Eaton Center in Montreal. So, yeah, go say hi to him. He's got a rad new store. He was upstairs for a long time, but he's got a rad new store downstairs in the Esplanade near the food court. And he is a longtime gamer. He's got some serious chops at painting and modeling. So go say hi to him if you're in Quebec. Blade Wolf 9 says, I keep looking at my Lobo miniatures from Night Models and trying to figure out what Batman group I could use him properly in. I mean, he's Lobo, dude. Do you need a reason? Like, he's a mercenary, and also he's completely insane, and an evil misogynist. So I would use him in, I don't know, I would use him in every game. If I was playing bad guys, I would have him be in every game, and the poor fools that he's like hanging out with at the time just have to deal with him. Because he's Lobo, and he's amazing. He's one of my favorite all-time comic book characters. Jay Aitken says, I was surprised how many homages there are. Brothers Berserk look like Legion of Doom. Yeah, totally, right? Like, and we're talking, sorry, about RUMBLESLAM again. This is an aside. Yeah, like, everything has homages in it. Big Andy's obviously Andre the Giant. Like, I think one of the great things about RUMBLESLAM, just to jump back to it for a second to answer your question from the chat, is it's clearly been done. I think I said this earlier. It's clearly been done with love. There's a real love of the subject matter in there, and I think that makes for a great miniature game, because that comes across when you even play the game. Is the mechanics have been written in such a way that clearly these guys have watched a million wrestling matches, and they know what they know what it feels like to watch wrestlers get around the ring, like what kind of moves they would do, and it's rad. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, if you watch wrestling in the 80s or even the 90s, it's a lot of fun. Chase Stromer just says Dark Age. Yes, Dark Age. Why aren't you painting? If you're watching this, go paint. You should be painting right now. Nick says Gore Chosen, great kitchen table game. Yep. Space Hulk. Yep. Ronnie Sugden says, hey Ash, I just watched RumbleSlam, looks awesome. Yeah man, it was great. NASA Joe says, Lost Patrol, yep. Craig Mark says, hey Ash, just finished kitting out my man cave with new furniture and can now paint and stream at the same time. Life goals. Awesome, man. Good for you. We Green Snake says Legends of the Old West. Yeah, man. It's a 4x4 table recommended, so I don't know if it falls in the kitchen table games. It could certainly be played on a smaller table. I don't think it in particular. The weapon ranges are so short. I think they recommended 4x4 in the rulebook, probably just based on what they were used to. But that game in particular, I think, could easily play. It's not like Fantasy or Mordheim where like it has fantasy weapons in it that have like a 36-inch range. You could easily play that game on a 3x3 and be just fine. And actually, some of the missions even they're on tiny tables. Like they recommend a much smaller playing surface to play on. Like the one that's a barroom brawl is literally just inside an 18-inch square, which is a bar. Mutants and Death Ray Guns, so quick to pick up. That's a great one too. Yep. Chase Frohnberg, Imagine the Dragons all beat 'em up. So Chase, you can get Dragon Ball Z characters in RumbleSlam. I don't know if you saw that, but if you go to the website, they have Goku and I think it's supposed to be Vegeta. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be Vegeta. It might be supposed to be Vegeta, but there's two Saiyans basically as a tag team, which are awesome. Sharfangle says, have you been looking and then following new releases for The Hobbit and Lord of the Ring? I have. They look rad, but they're all based on the Hobbit movie, so I'm not super jazzed about them, except for the troll with chains in his eyes. He's awesome. He's so sad. But yeah, I know, and they're super pricey. Like it costs you an arm, and like it's all Forge World, so I'm not keen. Like I have so much unbuilt, unpainted Lord of the Rings stuff still. When they redo the rulebook, I'll probably just start a new army based on like what's in my stash, and not necessarily grab like new stuff. The one thing I am super hot for though is the plastic Lake Town kits. Those buildings are awesome, and I should probably grab some just for various miniature games in the future. I don't know if they're available locally though, because I always like to support my local GW store when it comes to like GW stuff for my local independent retailer like Lords of War. If they are available, because I think it's still Forge World even though it's plastic. I don't know. I'll have to check it out and find out if I can order them, because that senior kit in particular would be rad to have a whole bunch of. Nick's Street Masters just wrapped up a Kickstarter. It's totally rooted in Street Fighter. Okay, cool. So someone's doing it. Awesome. I don't really keep up with Kickstarter, right? Because it's not real for me until it's in front of me. So I didn't know that was happening. That's awesome. I'll have to have a look at Street Masters and see what kind of cool beat 'em up dudes are in there. Because like I said, I think that totally translates into a miniature game. Like especially like if it was like Marvel vs. Capcom or any of those like tag style arcade games. You could easily do like a 2-3 players aside, or 2-3 like models aside strategy like fight game that way. Ace Burrell says, hey Ash, do you have suggestions on how to try and cheer up a buddy who tends to lose most games and then complains that all armies except his are overpowered? Winning is important to him, it seems. That's a tough one, man, because I don't know why he's losing. And I don't know who he's playing, because there's a lot of reasons that could be happening. He'd be playing the wrong people, because he could be, it might actually be that he's not trying to win, but that he's discouraged that he's not winning, right? Because like he's going into it thinking that all armies are equal, and he's playing guys who have different intentions. And he might be discouraged because of how it's being played. Like if he's losing games to an unpainted army with his painted army, that can be really discouraging. That would make you complain about playing the game and not want to play the game, even if that doesn't really normally matter to you. If you're putting in effort, because like I'm saying, it could be totally about something else. If he's putting an effort to like build and paint his stuff, and nobody else is, and he feels like he's getting nowhere, like he's just not having a good time, but he's spending a whole bunch of time and effort on trying to have a good time. So cheer him up. I don't know, man. Like, I would say try a different game, but I don't even know if it's going to help. Honestly, without knowing what the guy's hobby style is, that's a really hard one to answer, because losing games can be important to people, or it can just be the reason that they might be unhappy about something else, and they're saying that that's why they're unhappy. So maybe that's my answer is try and figure out what that guy actually likes doing. And if because you said apparently winning games is really important to him, like you don't really know if that's true. Right? Grabbing some extra paints here. And if it's not the case that that's actually what's really important to him, it's something else letting him down, try and figure out what that is. Because like that's my usual go-to, is try and figure out, well, this is the thing you're complaining about, what's actually bothering you? Because let's spend more time doing what you wish you were doing, and less time thinking about the fact that you're not doing it. Because like I've had guys stand around, and I've seen this in the past, right? They've got like a nicely painted army, and some kid rolls in with a bunch of like half broken models, but the kid's like super up on whatever the meta is, and just tub thumps him. You know what I mean? Like just beats the crap out of him. And the guy packs his models up, and he spends the rest of the night talking about how broken the game is or how broken the guy's army is. But he's not actually upset about the fact that, you know, that he just lost a game. He's upset about the fact that he spent like 80 or 90 hours building and painting an army. And what he really wanted to do is spend a couple of hours pushing it on the table and enjoying seeing it on the table. But instead, he only got to spend like 15, 20 minutes doing that because he got tabled so fast. And he's going to go home unsatisfied, right? And so he's going to sit around and talk about, it's going to sound like he's upset about the game that he just played. He's actually upset about the experience he just had. So maybe try and figure that out. Like, what's the experience this guy's looking for? And why isn't he getting it? And then just, if you can, pair him up with people that are trying to go for the same experience. Because if he gets to sit around, even if he plays like a 2-hour game and loses against another guy with a beautifully painted army, but like they joke around, they have nicely painted models, they get they're looking for and they get the same thing, he probably won't have that same like reaction of like, oh, the game's broken, oh, your stuff's broken, because he's gonna feel like he played a game. You know what I mean? So yeah, so there's my answer: is figure out what it is he's actually missing. If it's just winning the game, he doesn't care about anything else, then you probably can't help him. You can't make the guy be good at the game. You can maybe pair him up with somebody of a slightly closer skill level, I guess, is the only other suggestion there. But if that's not what he's actually looking for, try and figure out what it is that he's actually looking for. Ramsey says, hey! Jakin says, when I can spend less on a game than what I spend at McDonald's, it's hard to say no, not even if I end up playing it. That's true. How much do you spend at McDonald's? That's slightly disturbing. Linus Nystrom says, when can we expect some more Malifaux? I already actually talked about that. There's a bunch of it filmed already. It's because I'm doing the Worldwide campaign for Infinity. It's Infinity every week right now on Fridays. At the beginning of August, you start getting Malifaux videos, and I've got 2 in the can already, and then there's like 2 more I'm probably going to film this weekend, or 1 more I'm going to film this weekend. So you've already got it filmed into August and September. It's just not coming out till then. Scott Kittle says, hey Ash, appreciate the War Machine Hordes battle reports, painting Privateer Pirates right now. Jay Griffith says, I know a guy who has a pile of painted Union stuff. Man, that's it. We're doing Throwback Thursdays for Jay's here, everybody. We're doing Throwback Thursdays for Vor. We did Warzone. Now it's time to do Vor. We're going straight for the crazy old games. Okay, you guys are chatting with each other now. Getting broke. I'm trying to find out. I skipped down. I think I skipped all the way to the end. Oh my god, I've missed so much. There's so much I've missed by chatting. Going to the chat. Bolt action. 3 minutes of playtime. Bonesaw is ready. That's right. Aaron J says, thanks for all your vids. Love your channel. Thanks, man. 12 Neef. Actually, I actually enjoy playing the AOS skirmish. She looked miserable the first few battle reports. Owen always looks miserable. So the thing with Owen that most of you guys don't understand is he just has bitchy resting face. He has like one of the worst male bitchy resting faces of all time. And he realized that about himself. I actually in a video that you're going to see not too far in the future, I actually call him out on that. Like I look over at him at one point when we're doing an intro and I'm like, are you awake? I just like call him out. And he like perks up because I don't think when the attention isn't on him, or if he's like not the one talking in a video, he doesn't realize that like he's supposed to be paying attention, and like his screensaver comes on and he just like goes like deadpan. So like his resting face is super bitchy, and that's really it. He had a blast doing the AOS videos. We had a lot of fun. It just didn't. I'm sure it didn't look like it because sometimes the screensaver comes on. What else we got? Let me tell you. So Armor Freak says, "Let me tell you something, Mean Gene. Hogan broke my heart with his showboating ways." It's true. What else we got? The Dice Must Fall. Are you going to Gen Con? No, I'm not going to Gen Con. Gen Con is actually, this is the first year in a long time it's not been on my anniversary weekend, but my wife and I got married the week that Gen Con usually always falls on, and there is no way I'm getting to go to Indianapolis during that week. So I don't usually go to Gen Con. And also, I'll be honest, Gen Con's not really it's cool, right? But like after Gen Con to me is like Las Vegas. After like the first 12 hours, I'm just done and I want to go home. Like I'm hot. There's too many people around. My inner ISTP kicks in, which for you Myers-Briggs fans, you'll understand. It means that I get exhausted being around too many people for too long. And I'm done. I want to go home. I'm out of here. Like it was a lot for me. Like even like not quite as big things like Adepticon and stuff. Just wear me out. Like I'm worn out just being around like a huge mass of people for that long. So yeah, so I'm not like, it's not like I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't not go to Gen Con, but I'm not like itching to go to Gen Con, because Gen Con to me just is like a whole lot of people. It's a whole lot for me all at once, and you'd think that like I'm a super huge extrovert, but actually I'm not. I'm a closet introvert, which means I get all my energy from being by myself, being inside my own head. Brutalitops, Ash is a new wargamer. What kind of games do you suggest to get into to practice being a miniature gamer? I got started after watching a bunch of mini wargaming, you and Owen. I don't know if you practice being a wargamer, man. I think you just are or you aren't. So my recommendation is pick the game you like the models for, paint the models, and try and only play games with painted models, because that way you get the experience that it says it gives you on the tin. And if that's for you, that's for you. And if it's not for you, then I don't know. That's really it. Being a wargamer is not really, it's just as individualistic a thing as doing anything else. It's like being a chef, or being a skateboarder, or being being a dad, or being a whatever. You are the wargamer that you want to be, and so don't limit yourself to one thing. That'd be my only bit of advice. Just try everything. Go and experiment and try different kinds of games. Try painting miniatures in different scales. Don't ever fall into the mentality of like there's a best miniature game, and I only play this miniature game because it's the best, because it's just not true. And then my last bit would be that miniature games are actually, a miniature game is the best if you play it with people that you enjoy playing with, and so every miniature game is fun depending upon whether you're playing with people that you connect with. So if you can, try and recruit your friends to play miniature games. Even if you don't think they're going to like it, try and find miniature games that are easy to try, and just find people that you have common interests with, and this just gives you another reason to hang out with them and have a good time. That's really it. Most of my friends, it's funny because I was in the industry for so long, most of my friends are wargamers because you instantly have that in common with people. And the great thing about wargaming is when you move to a new city or you move somewhere, wargaming is like an instant connection with people, right? You can go to the local game store and have that in common with a whole bunch of people. And you have this like instant circle of at least acquaintances that can easily develop into friends. And it was the same working in the industry, you know what I mean? Like there'd be people that I work with in the industry that I wouldn't become friends with, but it's real easy to become friends with people that you work with when you all have something in common, you know what I mean? Like whether or not it's not even miniature gaming, like you just find out that you happen to both like miniature gaming and you both like mountain climbing or skateboarding or like whatever. And you go and you hang out, you like drinking beer. I really like drinking beer. Well, that's not true, but most people that I've worked with do. The Dice Must Flow says, when you film battle reports, you have a cameraman in addition to 2 players? Nope, it's just us. Just us. What else we got? People talking to each other. I'm trying to skip through here and try and find where they're actually talking to me. Oh, geez, we're all talking about 40K. Yoga or yogurt, dude? John Thompson says, no, it's yoga. I've been doing a lot of yoga. When you have a compressed spine or like a lower back like pain, there's a lot of yoga that can really like stretch out and move your hips. Most of my lower back pain comes from the fact that for years and years I drove for work. Like I would be driving like maybe 16 to 20 hours a week. And for a lot of it, when I was young and stupid, I had my wallet in my back pocket, and it like jacked up my back. It actually pushed my hips out of alignment. And a lot of the yoga that I do is all about popping my hips out and getting that muscle to actually like stretch that's in my lower back. And so the yoga that I do is all just like basically popping my hips out and stretching out my lower back. And a lot of times in the morning, I'll wake up and like, just from literally like my kids being deadlifts all the time, I can barely move until I actually stretch out. Noah Patterson says, happy 4th of July to you, good sir. Any shot after the Infinity Run to get any more Confrontation, Hybrid, or Mutant Chronicles Warzone vids? Those were awesome. Yeah, man, there's going to be more Mutant Chronicles. Actually, Ben, who did the Cybertronic game with me that you guys saw, he's currently playing the Mishma starter set, so we're going to be playing against some Mishma. Jay is painting the Mule, that cool new truck to go with his Imperials, which is pretty rad. And Confrontation Hybrid, I painted all of my, actually sorry, it's a lie, I got a couple more models to do. I painted most of my Cadwall and stuff, but then like all the dudes that were super jazzed about Confrontation for like 5 minutes, just never followed through, like, and so it just didn't happen, which is sad because I would love to have played more Confrontation. I'm sure it'll happen though. The Pile Shuffler says, hey Ash, what would you recommend for someone who's interested in 40K but doesn't have an army that they like to or connect to? If that makes sense. Wait until you have one that you connect to. Don't buy something. If you're going to spend 80% of your time building and painting stuff, don't buy something that you're not into. Like it's a waste of your money and your time. So wait until that thing comes along. And my recommendation then to figure out what you get into is read some novels, figure out some of the rules, read some background books, and try and find a connection. Get inspired, I guess would be the thing that I would say. Because that way you can find the thing that you like. John Thompson says, dude, I'm an RM commando, and since my 3 kids were born, my body has fallen apart. You're a Royal Marine? Holy crap, John. Dude, you've been through some stuff. And yeah, your body's fallen apart since your 3 kids were born. Right? Like, it's like an obstacle course that never ends, and your chow time is like the leftover spaghetti in their bowl that they didn't eat. But you got to make time for it. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to make time for it to crush out whatever physical stuff you can do. Chris S says, hey Ash, did you ever check out the Enforcer trilogy? I did. What was her name? Jenna something. She's like the marshal. Yeah, they were really good. The first one was my favorite, because the whole thing is like a heist story, and it's in 40K. And the heist is for like the charter for this rogue trader. I think it's called Rogue Star. And the charter, the reason why the charter was so important was it was signed by the Emperor, because the Emperor signs all these rogue trader charters, and sealed with a drop of his blood. And so it has the Emperor's genetic code on it. And so it's this like priceless thing that's in stasis that no one knows about, but it's got the Emperor's genetic code. You can clone an Emperor. Yeah, I know, crazy. What else we got? Jakin says, are you aware of any Scotia Grendel retailers in Canada that sell Void? I'm pretty sure Void's done, unfortunately. It appears their website's offline again. People might have old stock. I know Harry Tarantula downtown, or the Uptown one in Toronto, had some Void stock that you could probably try and check out. It's probably old stock, though. It's probably Icor stock, not the Scotia Grendel, the Void Metropolis stock. So I don't know, man. It's getting to be thin on the ground. Check eBay, maybe. I don't know if anywhere locally it's got it, unfortunately, because it's been a game that's been offline for a while. Johan Smith says, I've only read one of the Caiaphas Cain anthologies, but I really enjoyed it, and then I'm a big fan of Flashman. So I think the cool thing about Caiaphas Cain is it's basically Blackadder Goes Forth set in 40K. And again, it shows you the Imperium from a different point of view, from someone who should be the biggest true believer and just is not a true believer at all. Like, does not buy any of it. And I think, again, it's this great trick in literature where people write and they flip what your expectations are of a setting, and you get to see it from a whole new angle. So yeah, Caiaphas Cain, highly recommend that as well. It's a later thing. Brutalitops27 says, how's the Zamba game going anyways, Ash? Actually, I'm just talking with my editor right now. It was submitted back in the beginning of June. And we're talking about doing some cool stuff for it. Been looking at artists, which has been super fun. Phil from Osprey sent me a whole bunch of like artists to like try and nail down like the style we want for the book, which I'm pretty jazzed about. I got really excited about a certain artist, and I'm really hoping we can find something similar to do for the book, because it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be unique, I hope. The look of it's gonna be different, I think, hopefully, for anything Osprey's done to date. I had some cool ideas for some sweeties and some extra stuff too, which we're talking to the marketing team about. Can't say much more than that, but yeah, it's gonna be rad. I'm excited about it. And that is always a good sign for me. What else we got? Blue Moose 1231 says, I'm not Canadian, but are Timbits what Tim Hortons calls like donut holes? Yes, that's what they are. Dude, where are we going? Oh man, I'm lost now. I'm so far from the end of the chat. All right, we're going back to the beginning of the chat. Kablam says, hey all, it's first time catching one of these live. Hooray, people are here live. I'm jazzed. Mr. Porkio, Ash, I love you. Are you still going to be in the Leadville adventure in the UK? I am. It got pushed back till next year though. So these of you guys, I announced I was going to the UK. It didn't sell enough to launch. So what they're doing is I'm still on the ticket for it, and they're pushing it back to 2018. So I'll be on the 2018 one when it goes. So yeah, if you guys are still interested in checking out the tour by Geek Nation Tours, it's another year off basically. I came on board, so they talked to me about it at Adepticon basically, and it was, I think May was the deadline, and it was like April I was at Adepticon, May was the deadline. I jumped on board and it didn't go. So like I'm just on for the next one basically. Rolled over into the next one. Matt LeGray says, whoa, it's Kablams. Kablams is here. Doo-doo. Shane Rowan says, what's your favorite Infinity Army and why? It's funny. There's two reasons why I like an Infinity Army. I either like what it does, because it solves problems, you know what I mean? It approaches the game in a way that's efficient and helps you win the game. Or I like an Infinity Army because it is a challenge to solve problems with. So like, for instance, I was really stoked about Onyx because it was a challenge to solve problems with, because it's a very limited selection of what you get. You get some very powerful tools, but you also get a limitation on what you can take in other places. And then I like certain armies. Like I love my Ariadne, my vanilla Ariadne army, because it's just got a tool for everything. You know, like it just, they have some of the cheapest, best specialists. You get access to all kinds of stuff. You get werewolves, which are just one of the best warbands in the game, that aren't Gazzies. You saw I've got Gazzy PTSD from Owen. Yeah, I know. I think that I couldn't pick, but I think those are my two qualifiers, right? So like, armies that restrict you, they give you an advantage, but they restrict you, so they're challenging to play. They're kind of like the third tier Blood Bowl teams in Blood Bowl. When you've been playing Blood Bowl for a long time, you sometimes pick a team that's a challenge because it unlocks the game for you again and gives you a unique experience. And that's my same way with Infinity. So I'm enjoying my Yu-Ching. The ISS is very powerful. It gives me a lot of neat tools, but doesn't limit me that much. So like, I'm really excited to try maybe to do JSA, because I want to try and do an all camo list and just do like all TO camo and try and play with like a melee army. I think there'll be a unique challenge. So you get these tools where you can try and do these things, and that'll be neat. So I think that's it. Those are my two things, and we are pretty much done. I'm hearing the boy wake up, which is good timing because it's 3:32. And that's 90 minutes. So we are closing off the end. I'm taking one more question out of here. There we go. Also, Ash, are you or Owen a Newfie? No, man, I was born in Toronto and Owen was born here in Niagara, so neither of us are Newfies. Brutalisop says, I've heard that being called a Newfie is an insult in Canada. Is that right? No, it's not. It just means you're from Newfoundland. It's funny because in Canada, I think it's interesting. We do have dialects. They're not as pronounced, I think, as in the United States, where like you can go from state to state, and it's almost like visiting a new country because the accent will change dramatically. The patois, like the common terms, will change dramatically. Most places in Canada, people tend to sound the same, but some of them still have like really deep cultural roots. So like Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, for instance, still have really deep colonial roots. Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, especially with elements of Irish and Scottish in their language, right? So certain words like boy is pronounced by, stuff like that, where you, and like th is pronounced hard instead of soft. So like instead of going to the theater, you go to the theater, like stuff like that. You find it's kind of an oddity in Canada, and so I think that's why Newfie is a thing. They just typically call themselves Noofs. I found you're from Newfoundland, you're from the Rock, something like that, which is not the prison in San Francisco. It's Newfoundland and Labrador. So yeah, no, it's not really an insult. It's just they're a in I guess in Canadian culture they're very strongly pronounced in their own culture, and they are some of the toughest people you will meet in your entire life. So I would never say that being a Newfie is an insult, because they will. I would take, how about this? I would take 3 Newfies into any bar in the world and expect to be completely safe. Also completely terrified because no one knows what they're gonna do, but also completely safe. that would be my thing with boys from Newfoundland, because they're all typically big, tough, and relatively fearless gentlemen. And that's pretty much it. Blue Moose, I didn't get to your mailbag question. I'm sorry, dude. I'm actually going to leave this mailbag open and keep at it, because I didn't get to a lot of the questions in the mailbag. And so we're just going to keep this one. I'm going to start it from scratch next time around, and we will keep on keeping on with it. I'm just going to edit it so it's the next episode, and I will get your question hopefully the next time around. So I think that's going to be it. We're pretty much done for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was certainly a lively one for the 4th of July. I was actually expecting to be kind of quiet, and it was not quiet at all. It was a sort of more how do I put it? A more exciting. There's a lot of people chatting, and the chat got away from me, which was cool. It was full of questions I didn't get to answer. So we'll see you for these soon. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until then, I'm Ash. Happy Wargaming.